Let's go, pal.
Hello fellow legends, Stabster plays here with more Fallout content for you guys. Today we're going to be talking more about the Enclave, but in Fallout 2. However, I missed out a few main points in Fallout 76 that I want to go over right before we go to Fallout 2. So if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button, as it supports me, and subscribe if you want to take it a step further, and hit the notification bell for future updates on new content. So let's get right into it, guys. Like I said, let's touch into some Fallout 76 before we get into 2. Probably the biggest thing that I forgot was that in Steel Dawn, they added the Enclave Research Facility, which you get to explore in the Steel Dawn questline, specifically the Over and Out quest. I'll have some footage of it playing in the background, but don't judge it, this is a long time ago and I was a lower level. But anyways, in this facility you can find many different experiments and creatures around the place, which end up making it hard for you. And the facility is controlled by an AI similar to Modus in the Congressional Bunker. The AI is even called SOTUS with an S instead of an M. There wasn't much lore behind it though, just that it was a research facility for the Enclave, and the mission mainly focused on getting the transmitter for the Brotherhood. One more thing I did kind of forget was that in the data mines they found some Enclave scout armor. I don't know much about it, here's a picture of it though. Not much, but I felt like it was worth mentioning. Now let's get into Fallout 2's Enclave. Fallout 2 is actually the first time the Enclave was included in a Fallout game. They held a big presence in Fallout 2. They were actually the main antagonists of the game. Like I said in my last video, the Enclave didn't have the Purify the Wasteland mindset till 2140, which was 21 years before the first Fallout game. After this, the Enclave set their mission to exterminate the wasteland of all mutants. Before the Great War, the Enclave started and developed a plethora of new technologies, including variations of the classic T-51 power armor, and the projects failed to yield improvements. In 2215, the Enclave started making a new kind of power armor. The suit was finished in 2220, 7 months after President Dick Richards was elected president. In 2235, the Enclave began experimenting on Deathclaws, trying to use them as troops. You can find this in-game in Fallout 2 and Fallout 3, but you'll get a better look at it in Fallout 3 because it's first person, of course. It was on 2236 that there was a breakthrough for the Enclave. On July 20th, 2236, the Enclave rediscovered the base of Mariposa. The Chemical Corps and other scientists began to scour the base, and while assault squads began gathering slaves to use in the Enclave base. In this process, they enslaved Melchior of Reading. These slaves and construction crew removed tons of rocks while they were excavating the site, and the unprotected slaves, and even soldiers that were unprotected, were exposed to mild amounts of FEV, which in short is a virus that makes people into super mutants. This included Melchior, who was sent to the oil rig for testing. By October, Melchior realized that they were going to execute him and his people when they finished testing, so he started smuggling the Enclave's weapons to his fellow mutants. When the excavations were complete in January 2237, shortly after the Enclave scientists managed to obtain a pure sample of FEV and leave the base, the mutants rose up against the Enclave overseers, and after several casualties, the Enclave officers left the building and sealed the mutants there. Although this hurt the Enclave, it helped them in the end of the day, because they got an FEV sample from the mutants. With this sample, the Enclave was able to make a biological agent that would be a genocide for all mutants worldwide. It was called FEV Curling 13, after Lieutenant Colonel Charles Curling, the leader of the project. Not only that, but the sample was modified and refined by the Chemical Corps to be a staggeringly effective killer. The Enclave saw this as achieving a global clean sweep with a 99.5% extermination rate. This plan was known as the Project. Another person who got infected with the FEV strain in the Mariposa excavation site was Frank Horrigan, an Enclave soldier. You would think that he would be exterminated, being that the Enclave didn't like mutants and they were literally trying to kill him, but no. He got special Enclave armor made just for him that fused to his body, and it was practically his life support. He needed this special armor because he was over 12 feet tall, and the armor also pumped constant drugs and stabilizing agents into him. Other cybernetic elements included a bionic eyes, arm control mechanisms, and leg rotators among many. The reason that the Enclave didn't exterminate Horrigan, like other mutants, was because they didn't even see him as a mutant. They used this chance to experiment hard on him, and the Enclave scientists saw him as an experiment. The common soldiers, however, just saw him as a cybernetic freak and didn't even accompany him on his missions. The Enclave sent him on many missions just to get work done for them, and he was probably the strongest Enclave officer out there. We'll talk more about Frank later though. In 2241, the project was in its final steps. Even though the Enclave ran out of many critical chemicals, they were able to get around the problem by forming a secret relationship with the Salvatores of New Reno. The Enclave will give them their laser pistols in exchange for the necessary chemicals made in the drug labs. Not the best arrangement, but it worked. Final testing was needed for this toxin and inoculation against it as well. The Enclave therefore raided Vault 13 on March 16, 2242 to get people to test this inoculation for humans to be immune to the toxin. They took the Vault residents to the rig for testing. At around the same time as well, they raided Arroyo to test the effectiveness of the FEV curling 13 toxin on them. By autumn of 2242, all testing was complete and target toxin efficiency of 99.5% was reached. 250,000 gallons were prepared to release into the jet streams. That is a lot. However, the Chosen One stopped this from happening hours before it was set to release. He had to kill President Dick Richardson and fight Frank Horrigan, the mutated Enclave soldier that I talked about earlier. Frank Horrigan was of course the final boss fight and antagonist of Fallout 2. After you beat him, you win the game. And you would think that Frank would think better and realize that this toxin would kill him too, but I guess it was because of his lack of intelligence that he didn't even think about it. But anyways, as the Chosen One invaded Control Station Enclave to end their madness once and for all, Frank Horrigan blocked the exit to PMV Valdez. Frank Horrigan and the Chosen One fought, and the damage in Frank's systems were too much for him to handle and he exploded in half. He was still alive though, surprisingly. He lifted himself up with his 2 arms and he put himself on self-destruct and said that they will all die in a mushroom cloud. Then the pressure exploded his head clean off. His explosion blew up the rig and all the FEV toxin supply, which averted this global genocide. Now that does it for the Fallout 2's Enclave. Now let's talk about the aftermath of the Enclave from Fallout 2. What happened next for them? Well, the rig was the Enclave's main base, so after it was destroyed and after the president was killed, the Enclave was extremely crippled, and they were in much disarray. The survivors of the rig and members of other installations regrouped at Navarro, which is NCR territory by the way. Late 2242, senior scientist Autumn was contacted by the new president, John Henry Eden, who ordered the majority of the Enclave to go eastward to the Capitol Wasteland near the ruins of Washington, D.C. Navarro, however, remained as a fully staffed Enclave base. That is, after 2246 a couple years later, because the Enclave there posted a threat to the region. The NCR was of course victorious, and the Enclave remnants either attempted to join the NCR with limited success or fled east. Meanwhile, President John Henry Eden was joined by the Enclave soldiers from the West Coast. Raven Rock had fully manufacturing facilities and a sizable stockpile of resources, enabling the president to create an army of robots and provide his new human subordinates with military technology necessary to have the technological advantage in the Capital Wasteland. They even had a separate line of iBots created which is why the iBots in Fallout 3 speak of the Enclave as America's return to its pre-war state. During these times, the Enclave maintained a low profile in the Capital Wasteland, very rarely seen. Using Raven Rock and Adams Air Force Base, the Enclave slowly built up their forces and military might again, even picking up some research projects like the Duraframe iBots and the Hellfire Power Armor. I hope you guys found this video informative, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you want to take it a step further, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell for future updates on new content. Thanks for watching, and God bless.